Ladies and gentlemen, it has been quite a while since I have been active on any of the Star Wars 1980 accounts. There have been so much going on. I finished school. When I got back home, me and my dad usually go on hunting trips, and I wasn't going to say no to that. And then I started working at a museum, and I've been so busy these last few weeks that I've hardly had the time to even look on social media, let alone make a YouTube video. That's why you notice my posts have been a little sparse lately on Instagram, but I am back, and this has been an incredible week for Star Wars fans, and we're going to dive into absolutely everything. Anything that has come out, we will be looking at. There are several new Star Wars shows, some of which even have trailers at this point, and there is news galore and so much that we need to go into. News in the field of The Mandalorian is pretty simple. Your guys are going to have to wait till next week for my episodes 5 through 8 of Season 2 to get any opinions or breakdowns of those episodes, but right now we're going to be focusing on what has been released this week, specifically in the last few days. Through the Bad Batch, the Clone Wars lives on, and I know that there was speculation and report, but seeing the Clone Wars, or really just the Bad Batch, in the trailer footage, seeing that the animation style is the exact same as the Clone Wars, if not slightly ticked up in quality, is absolutely fantastic. Seeing longtime characters, but especially seeing the Emperor calling for the Order 66 and the rise of the Empire. There's a lot to question and go over in this trailer, specifically the fact that it seems like the Clone Wars is still ongoing. So it doesn't look like this show is going to be picking up exactly where Season 7 of Star Wars The Clone Wars left off. Rather, it will be picking up after the events of the Bad Batch arc and may continue on for several episodes, but it is very much confirmed through the trailer that by the end of the first season, at least, we will be seeing an Order 66 and a rise of the Empire. Though according to the trailer and seeing the shots that they've given us, it does appear that the Bad Batch will be against the clone troopers. This kind of confirms some long-standing theory that the Bad Batch would not actually enact the Order of 66, partially, or at least as speculation goes, due to the fact that they are all mutated clones. Perhaps their inhibitor chips also mutated. After all, the Bad Batch is considered to be a far more independent and lethal fighting force, and due to that fact, their less docile selves as their regular clone counterparts might have actually been counteracted to the point to where they did not betray any Jedi. We do see a lot of shots of the Bad Batch's ship fighting and being chased after by clone troopers in various shots, though we also see shots of the clone troopers backing up the Bad Batch. Multiple shots of ATTEs firing, as well as Bad Batch fighting droids. So again, that does confirm that this is still in the Clone Wars, which is evident by the title and the burning away of Star Wars The Clone Wars and rising of that rusted metal Star Wars Bad Batch title card. Throughout the entirety of this trailer, one fact remains, and one fact is clear above all else, is that the Clone Wars lives on through the Bad Batch. Whether in actuality throughout the show, as in that we will see more of the Clone Wars in the show, but also in spirit, in style, and in essence. Another fantastic show that we managed to get a trailer for is Andor, the Cassian Andor TV show, which is a Rogue One spin-off prequel. And Diego Luna, the actor who plays Cassian Andor, as well as the executive producer of the show, could not be more than thrilled to be here, and it really does feel like they are keeping the grand scale of Rogue One in the Cassian Andor show, Andor. After watching the sizzle reel, I'm very happy to say that the entire show will be kept at the exact same production value of a movie, and that the actual people in the cast and crew are treating this as though it was an actual movie. And that's something that I think every Star Wars show needs to do. Even the animated shows like Clone Wars and hopefully Bad Batch treated themselves as though they were very serious movie quality levels of Star Wars content. And seeing that Cassian Andor is following in the grain of The Mandalorian and making us a movie quality product in a TV show is something that is to be commended. And I'm looking forward to this show a lot. Rogue One was one of my favorite Disney-era Star Wars movies. I think it is my favorite Disney-era Star Wars movie, and I'm looking forward to this show, hoping that they manage to take a lot of the cast and crew from Rogue One, specifically the directors and the executive producers, and moving them into Andor. But this isn't the only thing that's happening in Star Wars. Yes, we only got 2 new trailers. There was, of course, the sizzle reel for The Mandalorian, but you've already all seen all this footage if you've been caught up. This is just a kind of a cool little trailer for the show so far. And while that's entertaining, I think what's even more interesting are all the confirmed TV shows for Disney Plus. Now, a couple of these I had expected would eventually come out. I can't say that I didn't expect several of these shows, but most of these shows I think are completely out of left field pitches by Disney Plus onto the platform that none of us were expecting. Shows, for example, like Acolyte, which is in the era of the High Republic, something which is a prequel to the prequel trilogy, and I think, like many fans and Star Wars content creators, believed this would solely be a literature, a book and comic book type of production. Rather, they have gone full circle and created a TV show as well, or will be creating a TV show, Acolyte, which is something that, again, I think Star Wars fans are incredibly looking forward to, because we don't really have a lot of information, of course, after the expanded universe was taken away. Yes, little bits and pieces through The Mandalorian and The Clone Wars are made canon from the Knights of the Old Republic and Star Wars The Old Republic, but seeing something that predates the prequel trilogy actually on film, something that can't be denied, is just, that was just a reference, it didn't exactly happen. We will actually be seeing events that take place before the prequel trilogy. And while it might not be Knights of the Old Republic, and I don't think it will be Knights of the Old Republic, it's going to be an entirely separate entity to flesh out the Star Wars universe in film more than it is already, especially in these eras that we don't know, is again something to be commended and something that I, like many fans, will be looking forward to a lot. The High Republic has been a very big and hyped up era of the Star Wars universe, 400 years before the events that take place in Episode 1 of the Star Wars prequel trilogy. More details about the Obi-Wan Kenobi series have come out, primarily the inclusion of Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker. Ewan McGregor said that was the greatest part about being Obi-Wan, is being reunited with Hayden Christensen and seeing his kind of return to mainstream acting. I'm very interested to see how he will act under different direction than George Lucas. I'm not saying that it was bad. People have their opinions, but I'm actually interested to see how he will act under a different director. I believe his role will be mainly as a supporting kind of a flashback character, where we'll see little flashbacks into the Clone Wars with Hayden Christensen. No note yet, though. It is possible that we might see a Rosario Dawson live action, maybe de-aged a little bit, and we can actually see an Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, and Rosario Dawson as Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka respectively in a flashback, and that might just break the Star Wars fandom as being the greatest thing that we have seen in live-action Star Wars to date. Obviously, we have the Ahsoka Tano series, which I expected was going to be a spin-off of The Mandalorian after she was introduced. I don't believe that any synopsis for the Ahsoka Tano series has been released. However, what we do know is that it will be written and directed by Dave Filoni, who of course has helmed her character since her inception in 2008 in the movie Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Obviously, I'm looking forward to that. Ahsoka Tano is my favorite female character and my second favorite character overall, only behind Darth Vader. However, this show isn't going to be a long-standing show with multiple seasons. It's said to only be a limited series. So think of it like a mini-series. We might get 8 episodes total, and that'll be it. But we'll get to see what Ahsoka Tano is doing. No word yet whether or not this has to do with her searching for Thrawn and Ezra. No word on exactly when in the timeline this series takes place, though at this point it could be quite literally anything. It could be her in between episodes 3 and 4 before her introduction into Rebels. It could be her actions between being locked in on Malachor 5 and finding Sabine. It could be completely after The Mandalorian Season 2. We have no idea. And there's almost a bit of a thrill to that mystery that we don't know what the synopsis or the plot for this show is going to be. All we do know is that Ahsoka Tano will be in her own series, though limited as it may be, still her own series. Rangers of the New Republic is another series which I think is going to be similar to an adult version of perhaps Star Wars Resistance. It's something that's more adult-centered, but kind of in that sequel vein, but not necessarily so far as 30 years removed from Episode 6, but rather a few years removed from Episode 6. So expect to see a lot of the early forming years of the New Republic, and perhaps seeing the military being converted from a rebellion / full-on military to more of a peacekeeping force, something which we actually saw in Star Wars Squadrons As the name suggests, I believe that it's going to be similar to like a Texas Ranger kind of type deal, where it's New Republic pilots patrolling the Outer Rim, patrolling the newly formed borders of the New Republic, and keeping everything in order, though again, no plot has actually been released for the show, simply the show's announcement. Another Star Wars TV show is Star Wars Visions. Unlike previous shows like Star Wars Resistance, which claim to have inspiration from anime, from Japanese animation, Star Wars Visions will actually feature Japanese-style animation. Now, I'm no anime fan. I'm certainly going to be watching the show simply because it's Star Wars, but for those of you who are anime fans along with Star Wars fans, this is your thing. It's said to be very similar to Kevin Feige's What If series on Disney+, so it might be a very similar. I don't think it's necessarily an alternate telling of certain events or an alternate history of Star Wars, but it's supposed to be 10 episodes of kind of different kinds of stories in the Star Wars universe. So I think of it as more of an anthology series. Perhaps every episode is going to have a different protagonist, a different set of characters, simply telling 10 stories in the Star Wars universe from people that we might not have seen in the Skywalker saga or in any other of the mainline Star Wars TV shows. Of all the projects on this list that have been unveiled as new Disney Plus Star Wars TV shows, this is the most unique, as it is animated similar to The Bad Batch, but it is Japanese-style animation. I'm a little bit hesitant to call it anime because a lot of weebs will get mad that I call it anime and not Western animation taking inspiration from anime, but it's basically anime. I don't care what any of y'all say. If it looks like anime, it's anime. Y'all need to stop gatekeeping animation styles. Another TV show is the Lando Calrissian television show, and there was no specification as to whether or not it will be using Donald Glover or if it will be using Billy D. Williams. It's possible that they could utilize both, and really the story is up to just about anyone. But I'm expecting big things from this. I obviously enjoy Lando. He's one of the most charismatic characters in all of Star Wars. When they introduced him for Episode 9, I was genuinely convinced that they were going to kill him off, and that actually upset me a lot. But I did enjoy Donald Glover's representation or portrayal of him in Solo, so I'm expecting big things from Lando Calrissian. It's really hard to mess him up, but please, Disney, don't make him have sex with another droid. That was already awkward and weird and cringy enough. Just have Lando Calrissian be the ladies' man that he is. He doesn't need to be going around having sexual relations with Fembot. Another strange Star Wars show that's been confirmed is a Droid Story, which I'll admit, I'm curious, I'm intrigued. I'm not sure how this is going to be worked. It's touted as being a landmark of visual effects and I guess just a lot of special effects, which I'm not sure if this is supposed to be animated, if it's supposed to be like Lion King, where it's live action, but it's animated. That seems kind of pointless, but it's another show. I don't really have anything to say about this. It looks like they're trying to make a new version of the show Droids, which premiered way far back in the 1980s. Though what form it takes, whether live action, 3D animated, completely CG special effects, or any other combination therein, is completely unknown, though it's said to be starring R2-D2 and C-3PO. So we'll get to see Anthony Daniels as C-3PO again, which is always a pleasure. I love him as an actor. I love him as a Star Wars character, and he really is great to the community. So big things expected from there, though my expectation for the show is a little bit lower than a lot of the other ones. It's probably lowest on my list, followed by Visions as like the two shows that I'm just like, yeah, they're there, but I'm not really sure I'm going to go out of my way to like wake up in the middle of the night on Fridays to watch them as they drop. It's more like oh yeah, maybe I'll watch it Saturday or maybe Friday afternoon. Lastly, and what I think everyone expected, was a confirmed third season for The Mandalorian. And this is good. There was some people like myself who thought that if The Mandalorian managed to get the child, who's now named Grogu, to a Jedi, whether it be Ahsoka, Luke, or any other Jedi that manages to still be alive, that the show would have basically no purpose and would thus end. Now we know, though, that whatever happens in this season of The Mandalorian, with one episode left, we will be getting 8 more episodes at a bare minimum of The Mandalorian. And like I've said before, I think that Disney is going to try and continue their Mandalorian TV show on Disney Plus for as long as possible, as Disney Plus was easily the highest watched show of all time when it dropped. I know that sounds crazy to say, but yes, it was the highest watch on-demand show of all time. Only beat out by the last season of Star Wars The Clone Wars, which you can see in The Bad Batch. So it seems like Disney Plus and Lucasfilm are desperately attempting to capture that magic. You can think what you want, but I think that it's good that they're actually giving us Star Wars content. If we have so many new shows coming out, nobody's really going to care that they're not watching movies, especially if they release these shows sequentially. So for example, in 2 months, they might release The Mandalorian. The next 2 months, it could be the Ahsoka Tano series. The next 2 months could be the Obi-Wan series. And then it follows throughout the year until it cycles back to, again, the next season of The Mandalorian. And then you could have shows like Visions and Droids and, I don't know, any kind of minor series can take place in between these shows or run concurrently with these shows as far as when they're released. And they just might not be hot ticket items. It's just, here's a show that also is out at the same time as The Mandalorian or Ahsoka. With all these shows coming out, Disney Plus is very clearly trying to make sure that you keep your Disney Plus subscription. And while I was in no danger of giving up my Disney Plus subscription, I am certainly now more than ever fervently planted in the camp of, yes, I'll be keeping my Disney Plus subscription. I know that there's going to be a lot of concern that there's a lot going on, and keeping up with all of this is going to be a lot. But I absolutely guarantee you that most of these shows are not going to be incredibly consequential to the overall Star Wars canon. Star Wars Visions is already being said to not really be all that important. For what I would look out for, I would say definitely The Mandalorian. You obviously need to watch that. The Ahsoka series, the Obi-Wan series, though honestly, the Obi-Wan series is probably not going to have that much of a bearing on the Star Wars canon. Neither will the Cassian Andor series, though I think a lot of people are still going to watch this. The Lando series is also not incredibly consequential unless it takes place after Episode 9, in which case this might be the farthest thing in the canon timeline that we currently have, but I don't see Lando as being super important to the overall canon. His story has more or less been told. Though if it takes place before the sequel trilogy, who knows? It might be good to fill in some gaps. The same with The Bad Batch. Truth be told, most of these series aren't necessarily blazing new ground. They're simply laying or filling in the gaps between movies and other TV shows and movies. So they're not really meant to be like some of these, you need to watch this, like the sequel trilogy, for example. Even Rogue One wasn't a super consequential film. It simply filled in a plot hole from 1977. And so I think that most of these series are going to follow that same kind of thought, is that we're just here to fill in the gaps. But, like me, I'm sure many of you are going to still watch every one of these episodes from every one of these series every time they drop. You might not watch it as soon as it drops like you do with The Mandalorian, or maybe that's just me. I don't know. Am I the only person that wakes up at 2 in the morning to watch The Mandalorian? I sure hope not. But anyway, I'm excited for all these shows. It really does show that Disney is trying to treat the fans with some respect. We see what Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau have done with The Mandalorian. We see what Dave Filoni has done with the last season of Star Wars The Clone Wars, making the last 4 episodes a cinematic masterpiece. So seeing all of this, I think Disney has finally realized that they need to give Star Wars fans Star Wars content that is made with care. When Star Wars creators actually put genuine effort and not try to make some political statement, not try to make some statement on gender roles or any other kind of political statement that they could include into their project, and they actually focus on making good Star Wars content for Star Wars fans of all races, genders, creeds, orientations, whatever, Star Wars fans will be happy. And I hope that that is the lesson that Disney and Lucasfilm are taking into their next few series on Disney+. Are you excited? I'm certainly excited. Finally, we are actually seeing Star Wars content like we did in the early 2000s, where it might not be a new video game every year, but instead we're getting a new Star Wars show. And unlike movies, which is way too much, honestly, even at this point, we're getting TV shows, easily digestible. I'm excited, and I hope you're excited. Comment your thoughts below. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you again next time.